This is episode 4 of the Father Figure podcast. Today's guest is Kimani. He's one of my coaching clients. He comes out of the US, and we just spent a really cool time talking about his experiences as a dad, his upbringing, how he's found his fitness and weight loss journey, and what he's looking forward to doing in the future. Stick around. I hope you enjoy this episode, and see you in the next. Kimani, hi.
Hey,
Welcome to the Father Figure podcast. Thank you for making the time to be available. The time difference, I think, is like when I was setting this call up, I think it was like 7, 8 hours time difference. And I'm
yeah,
glad that this time I got it right because usually I mess it up when I'm dealing with US time zones and my arrogant self thinking that the whole world revolves around sort of European time zones. And
so
now,
yeah, I always double check because I'm like, what time is it there? If I'm sending an email to somebody, I'm just like, they haven't responded in hours. I was like, yeah, it's 4 a.m. where they are. They're probably asleep. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll
yeah.
check for it later. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's very kind of you. I've had clients in some of my corporate roles who they don't give a damn that it's 4 a.m. They just like, I want my response now. So
yeah.
yeah, we need more clients like you.
So, I've been doing it long enough to know that it's like because a lot of my work involves dealing with people on the East Coast, so I'm always at that 3 hour time difference of, I got to get this message out before like 2 o'clock today, or I'm not going to see a response till the morning because people clock out at 5. So, yeah, time zones has always been aware, especially after traveling abroad and coming back like what time is it there? It's like, oh, it's like 3:30 in Japan right now. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
it's just wild. So
yeah.
um yeah, it's definitely a thing you get used to once you've done it a few times.
Awesome, awesome. I love that. I'm just gonna go straight into it and ask you who is Kamani, essentially? Just tell me
Oh
about
man, I'm still figuring
all the
that out
questions.
myself.
I'm thinking,
uh
where did you grow up and what was your childhood like? Let's start there.
yeah. So I was born in New York, and I lived there until I was about 5. A lot of my immediate family on my mom's side's up there. So I lived there till about 5, and then my parents and my sister and we all moved down south to Georgia to be closer to his side of the family. And so I spent pretty much the rest of my life somewhere down south. I have 2 sisters and a brother, and so we all lived down there. And then my parents got separated at one point. We moved to South Carolina. And I was there through a lot of my like developmental years. So, middle school, high school, and then right around I was graduating, we moved back. My parents, decided to give it another go, get back together. We moved back to Georgia, and that's pretty much where I stayed for the remainder of going to college. I went to school for art. So my background's actually in photography and digital media. So I did that for many years. I mean, I still do in a different format now because the world has changed, and everybody being a photographer is now you got a camera in your pocket sort of thing, and so you kind of adapt with the world around you. So yeah, I did the photography thing for a while, and then I met my girlfriend, and she's a lawyer. And she's a very driven young lady, and she was like, "Hey, on our first date, she was like, "Hey, just so you know, I've applied for a job in Alaska, so I may not be here in 6 months." And I'm like, "Cool. Would you like a drink?" Uh, and we and let it be said, 6 months later, she actually got a offer to travel out. So we went to so she flew out there, and once she got settled in, I went out there. So I lived in Alaska for about 6 years, and then I lived in after that we got married. Once we got married, we decided, we were like, hey, let's move a little bit closer to the stateside, and we moved to Washington. So that's my immediate background story of kind of like where I started and how I got to be here today as a father of two. I don't know if you just heard them. Two
I did.
rambunctious young girls, a 7 and a 4-year old. That was probably the 4-year old you heard. Yeah, they are a handful. They are full of love and energy and sometimes unnecessary fury. Because the little one wants to always be around her big sister. And so if her sister wants some space, she's not for it. So, but now they're calming down. They're getting ready to go outside. So, you know,
I was just wanting
that's
to
that's
tell
that's
you.
that's dad life.
That's dad love. Exactly. I wanted to say to you now because I could hear them in the background, and I sort of saw your face like ah. So I just want to let you know, don't stress about it because that's what this podcast is about, like showing dad love. So don't worry about it if they're in the
Yeah, I was
background.
looking for the mute button. I was like, do I need to pause this real quick? But yeah, no, I mean that's what it is, and it's a very interesting dynamic going from being just me and my wife to now like us having one kid and what life was like with just one kid, and now having two kids, and just the balance of they're two entirely different people. I was kind of telling you before we started recording that like the first one put us in a false sense of security. Like she was so easy to deal with, and nap times and arts and crafts and activities and things like that. And she was just really easy. So we were like, sure, let's have another one of these. And the second one came out, and she was, everything started off fine, and then as she developed into her own person, like it was an entirely different personality that kind of arose. And she's more tactile. She's more like hands on, and I want to do stuff, and I want to hug you, and I want to touch you, and if I want to fight you sometimes, and it's a lot. Whereas the other one's like I call her sunshine and rainbows because she just wants to like sit there and like maybe cuddle and watch TV and eat a snack and just be kind of peaceful. And the other one's like I'm tired of being peaceful. Let's wrestle. Like, okay, like
Yeah.
I have both sides of the coin, and so it's an interesting dynamic of trying to balance that out because sometimes it's defending the big one from the little one, and other times they're just adorable on the couch, just watching cartoons and just being peaceful and cuddling under a blanket with their little stuffed animals, and I'm like, well, this is nice. I don't know how long it'll last, but this is nice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really interesting because I was going to ask you what were the considerations between like having the first kid and then going to the second, just because my wife and I obviously we are also sort of now in that phase where it's like okay, how many kids we're going to have and when to have the kids, and our daughter right now, I would say she's more aligned to your younger daughter. She's just it's the emotions are out there. She's very like also hands-on wrestling. I call her my little dragon because one she was born she was born in the Chinese year, the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I call her the last dragon because she's like born right at the end of the year. Yeah, she's like, and then she just has like this fire and emotion that just is always like present, and she's all over, and she doesn't stop, does not stop, and I'm just wondering if now number two, how number two is going to be, if it's going to be two of the same, or if it's going to be a chilled number two, or like we don't
It
know.
it it's a like I said, the first one, everything was so chill that we were not fully ready for what the second one was bring. Like in the states we say, oh, it's the terrible twos, is when they're going through that phase of like, oh, I don't want to do this and yelling and all this kind of thing, and we never had that. Three was terrible. I think three was bad because three they're they're better with words, they're better with understanding, they're trying to communicate more, and if you don't immediately pick up what they're saying, they get frustrated, and then it kind of becomes a thing. Or they understand, they just don't like the answer, and so that becomes a fight. And so we were like, all right, we're bracing for when the little one turns 3. 3 will be the thing, and 3 was it was like 2.5 to 4 was just like rage and energy, and I think it's because she has a sibling is that they're able to do that because they're able to play. So having them close enough in age makes it so that they still play together, because the older one hasn't aged too far out of playing with the dollies or the blocks or the things, and the younger one is just on the cusp of playing with some of the maybe the higher end games or higher end toys. Like she may play, she may not play, but I think it's a balance of like if you already know what you have now and you're bracing for it, then you already know how to deal with it down the line. But like I said, the second one kind of balances things out. So not saying you have to have a second one, but if you decide to, it's kind of like getting them in that window where they're like a year and a half, 2 years apart, so that way they're not too far out of the window. And it also changes if you have a girl or a boy. We have two girls. Everyone I've ever talked to says boys are different creatures altogether. So if you have, a young girl who's already kind of like wrestling and active and whatever, and then you have a boy, he either A will like feed that energy and they will just like lovingly fight and wrestle with each other, and you'll be like, all right, well, as long as you don't hurt each other, go for it. Or he'll be the exact opposite of like, she's too much, I want to
Yeah.
go over here and like read and color, and you'll sometimes you get that balance. So you either I think parenting is about balance. Is that you never know what you're gonna get, but if you get one, sometimes you get like a break with the other.
That's powerful. I like that. Just so going back to I'm going to wrap back to the kids. I just want to find out: are you a middle child? Because you said you have two sisters and a brother. So where are
I'm the
you?
oldest. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you got a completely different dynamic. Okay, so as the oldest, like what have you seen when you were growing up now that like you're using or not using to raise your daughters, like taking in mind that like you had siblings and you know what works and didn't work, and how are you trying to like
Yeah,
manage that?
I yeah, it's being the oldest and seeing, because so I'm 4 years older than my closest sister. So, we were not, you know, necessarily in the same same play range. There were some things we could play, but we weren't exactly in the same play range. But then my second sister came, and they were 2 years apart, and they were in that window. And so they watching their relationship up until they were in like middle school were like buddy buddy. They both played off each other. They both played together. And then my brother was born 2 years after her, so they're all 2 years apart. Having him at the end, really solidified like the whole thing, because I always wanted a brother. So it was like me and him on the end, them in the middle. But we all played together. We had a good time. And as they got older, you really saw those personalities develop where I consider myself an all arounder. Like, I do art and, some games and a little bit of activity and stuff like that. My next sister, she kind of took after me. She likes, she liked the art and the drawing, and she's very good at like knitting and crocheting and designing things. So, my youngest sister, she leaned more towards my dad's side of the family. She's more, we'll call street savvy. So she was like out the house. She wanted to be out the house and in the streets, and doing her thing. And so she took a different path than the rest of us, but she came back and she kind of figured it out as she got older. And I think, like I said, in watching them in like middle school age, like that's when that dynamic between them started to shift. Of like being like way more argumentative and fighting and arguing and stuff, and it led a little bit into adulthood, because as adults you have different expectations of your family. But like I said, they're all working it out now. They're all living together. in the house because my mom has some medical issues, and so the family kind of came together because they all live in the same state, and so they're helping to kind of take care of her. So, like I said, they were solid, and then they kind of got into that high school development age where everybody kind of becomes their own person, and then they all sort of kind of coalesce back around take care of mom and just being adults and parents because they all have kids now. And then my brother was the one where I just kind of told him like, you need to get out and you need to see the world. You're super smart because he took after everybody else. It's like, I'm just going to focus on studying and maybe playing some games, and just kind of kept to himself. And he went into the Navy, and he got to travel around and see the world a little bit. And it's like, you just go out and experience things. And so he went and did that. And now, funny enough, after he's traveled, he got married, and him and his wife actually live like an hour away here in Washington. So they went from Hawaii to wherever else they were to now here, and they actually decided to settle here. So he's out of the Navy, she's about to get out of the Navy, and they decided to stay. So it's really nice to now have family close enough here, and when I go back to Georgia to have all my family there. So yeah, it's just watching the dynamic, and I'm looking, and this is the long way of saying like I'm watching their dynamic now, and uh it's that hit and miss of like they're still young, they're still learning. As they get older, I think they'll kind of pick up more of you know the languages and how to interact with each other, or just become two entirely different people. Like it may just be like, you know, my oldest may just want to be like, hey, I'm doing sports and gymnastics or swimming and all this other kind of stuff. And the little one's like, I like Taekwondo. So I'm going to go over here and do Taekwondo and do all these other physical activities. And they just may be these like two separate people who just meet up in the house every now and then and have dinner and hang out. So I try to, there's only a handful of stuff I think I can fully apply to what I grew up with as a kid, because my situation as a kid was different. For many years we grew up in a single parent household. So I was the surrogate dad for my siblings. I was the oldest. I had to learn how to cook and clean and take care of them while my mom was working. So now we positioned ourselves. My wife and I are, both grew up with less, and now we have positioned ourselves to have enough. And so trying to make sure we're able to give our children the experiences that we didn't have as kids, with making sure like we don't spoil them. Like you just can't have everything you want because you want it. If you want something, you have to work for it. My oldest is learning that the hard way. She's like, oh, I saw this thing. My friend has this thing at school. And I was like, cool. You can go wash the car and we'll work out a payment system. Like, oh, I saw this thing. And like, oh, you can open up a lemonade stand on the corner, and this is how you make money. This is how you save money. So we're teaching her those basics of like, we're not just going to give you things. If you want things, you have to work for them. I had to work for this. All this that you enjoy, like your mom and I have to work for it, so you have to work for it. And she's learning that now. So now when she sees something, she's like, I want this thing. And I was like, so what do I have to do, or like what can I do to get it? And I was like, okay, you got the concept. Is now we're not just handing you things. If you really want this thing, you got to work for it. And so we just want to instill that in them. And so it's just watching them, like I said, because my childhood was different than my girls are now. It's just trying to find that dynamic of don't give them everything, but also nurture the activities that they love and that they enjoy, and just try to give them those opportunities, and let them make those choices. And that, never force them like you have to do ballet, you have to do this thing. It's like, no, you go. If you love it, let's embrace it. If you find out it's really not for you, not just because it's hard, but because it's really not for you, then we can find something else. And, I just, that's what I'm pushing them towards, because I didn't really have those options as a kid. And so now I'm trying to make sure we give them those options without just overdoing it, overcompensating for our childhoods in them. Like, here are the games, here are the toys, here are all the things. Like, there's No, I had to work for it. You have to work for it, but it's that balance that I kind of mentioned earlier.
It is. I mean, you've said so many golden nuggets there, but yeah, it's so hard to like have less and then not want to spoil them, but then yeah, but then at the same time, teaching them these life lessons is actually the spoiling because I often say now, my dad, he wasn't a man of many words and he was quite tough. But even now, like at 35, I sit and I think about something he said. I'm like, ah, I got it now, you know? And I'm
Yeah.
like, it took me this long for something to click. Because of something he said like so many years ago. So it's just interesting. So I have to ask, you said your parents got back together. Did it work out when they got back together? The
It
second.
were it was I think because I was in my teenage years, it was a kind of a rough go for me a lot just because a lot of the dynamic changed. I went from, we'll say, being a leader in the household to now kind of following behind someone who necessarily wasn't there for many years, kind of taking the role. Like, he lived in an entirely different state. We see him maybe during the summer, and so it was rough there, especially since I was leaving my senior year, and so I was like, I developed this whole life outside of here just for this experiment, and I was kind of like, but the short version of that story, without getting into too much, is that unfortunately my dad passed away. They were, we were all together in the house, living in the house. I wasn't there when he passed, but yeah, I came home from. I just started college actually, so it was my first week of college, and I came home, and a relative was at the house saying, basically trying not to deliver bad news, but delivering bad news that he was in the hospital. But yeah, he passed away that same day. So yeah, so they were together for. I feel like it was only a year and a half. Probably no. I think it was closer to 2 years because I did part of my senior. So it was like 2.5 years before he passed away. So I guess for that, outside of any turmoil or strife that happened personality wise, I'm kind of thankful for that, just because we were at least there and had those handful of years because it was unexpected. So we had those handful of years to at least be together, and through the good times and the bad, have those experiences together before he passed away. So yeah, that was just kind of it was a big development change, because that also changes the development with younger siblings of, well, now we're not just dealing with older brother taking care of sisters, but now you're like dealing with the loss of a parent and how to factor that into a developing childhood. And I think that had a major impact on my youngest sister. I think that had a very huge impact on her because she was a daddy's girl, and so losing that person early on in life and not adapt, and not knowing how to express it was very influential for her. And probably for my brother as well, because like I said, they were both very young, and me not knowing how to process things. So I think there's a lot of development that went on there, that with more structure, more family around, things could have developed a little bit different. But like I said, some people took the longer way around, but they all kind of got to where they needed to be in the end, and so it's kind of where we are now. But yeah, it was an interesting transition at that time period.
I can relate to that so much for a few reasons. Also, because like my dad died also during my developmental years, and it's so you don't realize it when you are like in it, but now I can see it. Like it's so critical these years to like have the stability and have all of these things that are working together and functioning. I'm not saying you have to have this perfect family life, but definitely, yeah, when there's big gaps that are present in these developmental years, it certainly mold your personality a certain way, and only years later upon reflection you're like, oh, I always react in this scenario because I guess because of this, and you can somehow link it back if you think like and hard enough on a point, you can be like, I've been doing that since I was 14 years old, and that's kind of because it this happened at that time in my life, and I was like,
Mhm.
yeah. So many things like that, and that my wife and I, we are concentrating as hard as we can on our daughter. I mean, we've been criticized that maybe we are concentrating too much. It could be a first child scenario as well again, but we're concentrating so hard to make sure that like everything is lining up as best as possible for her in these like young years, so that she can have the best foot forward and just go into the world being confident and having high self-esteem. And even if she
Mhm.
gets knocked down in life, she has us as a support system. Like you were saying, it would have been nice to have like some more structure there for you as well. So yeah, it's this is
Yeah.
very relatable to where I'm at as well in my life with what you're saying. So thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. No. And
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go. Oh, sorry. No, sorry. Go.
Oh no, I was saying it's one of those things of being a first time parent. Like I said, I being the oldest, I thought I kind of had it figured out. I was like, I have younger siblings. I think I got this. And one of my best friends, she had a daughter, and I kind of was there when she was born, and so I was like, I got this, and I actually picked up more bits and pieces from watching her raise her daughter, because I was older and able to process it better than I did from any of my other childhood things. So there were things that I incorporated from that, but when it comes to it, is like because you have that awareness of the world around you that you didn't have when you were necessarily growing up, and you're like, well, I definitely don't want this for my kid. Like, I think sometimes we do overcorrect, and so we're like, this has to be perfect, this has to be great. And I was like, there's beauty in the flaws, there's beauty in the mistakes. And my wife now even wonders, like, I wonder, like, I don't want to, she's like, I don't want to mess this up. Like, the world out there is a rough place, especially for young women. I don't want to mess this up. And then just last night, she came upstairs. Well, we were doing the bedtime routine, and I was sitting down on the couch, and she comes upstairs after reading stories to our oldest, and she's like, "We're doing good." Like, I had a conversation with her, and she asked about, I forget what she asked about. It was part of the books that they were reading, but it was one of those like development books, and you're learning about your bodies and growing and developing and changing. And she had questions, and so she was able to like articulate, how she felt or had questions and stuff. And she was like, it felt good knowing that we have this open dialogue with her, that she feels comfortable asking questions and doing stuff. So it's like, one day you see your kid, trying to eat a handful of mud, and you're like, where did we go wrong? But then the next day they're like, doing something on a higher level than you thought, or they're just, they're emotionally regulated. Like, they went from being really angry to calming down and sitting down and being able to tell you why they're angry, and you're like, oh, we are doing it right. So don't, as one dad to another, don't stress out too much. Stick to the basics of making sure they're fed, making sure they know they're loved, and making sure they know they're safe. And everything outside of there just falls into place. You don't have to necessarily overcorrect for the world around you, or even the childhoods we may have had ourselves. Just, treat her and raise her in a way that, like I said, she knows she's loved, she knows she's safe, and she knows she has people to go to, and everything else really just kind of, it falls into place, especially in these little years. Like, that's, having that security blanket and that comfort makes everything else go so much easier. The food and the vegetables and the temper tantrums, those things all fade away at some point. And what's left is, a kid who understands how to just be human and be nice to other humans, because that's what we're trying to do. Is like, we just don't want to raise little jerks. Don't like, be human, be nice to other humans, and understand that there's more to this world around just what you want. And if we can accomplish that, I think we're as dads, as parents, especially of young girls, that we're doing the best we can to give them that self confidence, because they're going to need that more than anything else, is self confidence, to know that they are worth more than whatever the world is going to tell them that they are worth. And if they understand that and they have that, they will go far in life.
I love that. That's the biggest thing I'm working on with our daughters. So they say like self confidence and self esteem is built within the first 7 years of like their childhood, and that's like where the big building happens, where they'll carry that then into like their teenage years and so forth. So right now, like that's my big push on her, is just to like build the self esteem and stuff, so that she knows that she can trust herself one day, that she makes good decisions and has good outcomes because of her own decision making. And I think
Yeah.
that that's where, yeah, I think that's where it really is going to matter in years to come. So my question I wanted to ask you, just the last bit on the dad life, was, what's your favorite part of being a dad? Just
Oh, uh, I would say the favorite part of being a dad is just those maybe it's those moments of enlightenment, like the when they get something, like you've been working with them on a task or working with them on a thing, and it just snaps and they get it and they're just happy about it. And they it's that feeling of accomplishment, of like, dad, I did it, dad. Like they're just so excited over like, like understanding this concept that's been so, that you've watched them struggle with. And that they're just, you, like I said, you're just watching their confidence grow and their ability grow, and you're like, I helped with that. I helped make this proud, happy little human. And then I would say in addition to that, is just the amount of love that they are able to give. And kids are very sensitive to emotion, and they pick up on things. So sometimes you're having a bad day or a rough day, and some days they just want to come next to you and not want anything, not asking questions. They just want to come and sit next to you and just be in your space, and just put their head on your shoulder and just sit there. And I think that's some of the most, those are some of my best moments. Like some days I'm just tired, I'm exhausted, it's just been a long week, and I'm sitting down, and my littlest one will just come over and she's like, hi daddy. And I was like, hi. She just, can I sit next to you? I was like, of course. And that's it. She'll sit there and she'll just look up at me, and I look down at her, and she'll smile, and and then it's just like a wave of peace kind of rolls over you, that's just like, things are okay. And
yeah.
it's nice to have that after, even if they've been yelling 2 hours ago and just like losing their mind, they go like, daddy, I love you. And
That's
they come and sit next to you, like, okay, this is good.
That's so cute. I love hearing that. Yeah, yeah. So sometimes my little daughter will come and sit next to me and just smile, and then I'm like, yeah. In those moments, I'm like, ah, and then I see a fist coming to my face. I'm like, okay, the moment's over.
That false sense of security.
Yeah. Do you know about human design by any chance? Or have you
Human
ever heard?
design.
Yeah, it's a bit woohoo. I can send you a message afterwards, but it's I found it to be interesting. So just briefly, basically, my wife actually got me into it. So it's not like astrology or anything like that, but it's, I guess, it every human has like a prototype. Like there's different types of humans. For example, like my wife, for example, she's like a manifester is what it's called. So
Hmm.
it's somebody who's like, they'll get a spur of energy, and they'll like want to go out in the world and do stuff, and just like, yeah, once they get something in their head, they're like jumping in at different projects and just trying to do multiple things. But the downside is that then they struggle to maintain that. Whereas I'm more like I think they call it a generator. So I'm more like habitual, and I can like slowly keep on doing the same thing over and over. But then when it comes to these new grand spontaneous ideas, like those don't really come to me. I'm more like, I mean, I don't go out and like enforce that. I'm more like, I wait to see what sort of gets presented, and then I sort of react around that. Whereas my wife is like trying to slam doors open, but smash doors open, for example. But then she'll smash the door open and be like, "Oh, what's this opportunity?" But then maybe not know what to do with it. So anyway, so that's human design, and we supposedly all fit into like different categories. But I can send you some more info on it afterwards, and it's just interesting with the family dynamics because we've looked to see what our daughter is, what my wife is, what I am, and sort of how we all operate under the same roof. And in some ways, it makes a lot of sense. So I just thought it would be
Yeah,
something you would want to look into, maybe.
yeah, because when you were saying about your wife being a manifester, I was like, that sounds like I get an idea in my head and then I can't, it's not that I can't function, I can't move past it until I've actioned on it.
Yeah.
Like I spent the last 2 nights building a computer because I told myself early in the week, I was going to finish building this computer. And so I was like, I want this done. I need this project done so I can move on to the next thing because this project is always in my head.
Mm.
And so I I went and I built the computer and I was up way later than I could because I ran into a problem. And the problem, one, it was related to I was tired, and that the most obvious answer was staring me in the face, but I was ignoring it for looking for bigger problems.
Yeah.
I so when putting a computer together, you have all these cables that you put in, you connect, all the lights are supposed to come on, and then it should work. All that happened, but I was getting an error and I couldn't figure out the error, and I was literally looking at all the big issues. Is this expensive part bad? Is this expensive part bad? I was looking at the money of like what expensive thing is broken that I have to now
Yeah.
fix. And I just kept going and I was looking and looking, and I took 2 hours of just going in this circle of like, I have to fix this. I have to fix, because I like to fix. I mean, I'm in the IT world.
Mhm.
This puzzle is a puzzle. I have to figure it out. I have to solve the puzzle. And when I stopped and I read, I went and I looked online. I was like, what do these lights mean? Well, the lights mean that something's not happening. I was like, and I kept ignoring the obvious answer that it showed me. And finally, I just stopped and I looked and I was like, okay, I've done everything else except for the easy thing. Let me go back and just type in this one question. It's like, do I need to plug in this extra cable? It was like, yes. Like you don't have to plug in both of them, but you definitely need to plug in at least one of them. And the minute I plugged in that cable, everything worked. Everything came on, everything processed, and it was like 2 hours of doing this because when I was putting it together and I had these extra parts, and I was like, oh, I don't need these right now.
Mm.
And and that's how I couldn't get my brain wrapped around it. I was so focused on the bad and the negative
Yeah.
and how much is this going to cost me to fix that I couldn't just realize, like, if you just taken a step back, retraced your steps, you would have looked and saw that there was one cable would have saved you 2 hours of headache and stress and everything else, and you would be past this project to go do the thing that your wife asked you to do 3 months ago. so, uh, so
Yeah.
I am there now. I am there now. So yeah. So if you want to send me the information about the types of people, I'd like to see if I fall where I fall into that category, because
Yeah.
I can react to spur of the moment things. My wife does not. She likes a certain level of order and structure,
Yeah.
and I'm like, cool, chaos, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Sounds like your manifest.
yeah, so
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so no, I would love to see it just to kind of see where I fall in, because yeah, that was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Sounds like
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, yeah, and definitely check on what your daughters are, because it can like highlight the differences, and then it will be stuff you already know. You'll be like, ah, that's why my 4-year-old does this and my 7-year-old is like this. Like, yeah, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to ask you. You said you are a all-rounder, like arty, and you've also like done gaming and like also like sports. Like, what got you into sports and fitness to begin with? How long did you? What did you do growing up?
Like I mentioned, we didn't have much in the way of funds and resources. So I didn't get to do like I didn't join any like specific teams or anything like that. The school offered swimming, so I did a little bit of swimming. I was always interested in archery. I don't know what drew me to, but I was interested in archery, and so I went to a school that was supposed to have it, but the gym program cut it. So I actually didn't. I got a little bit physical into a weightlifting class. So I think in my high school years there was at least a weightlifting class, and so I started to get more physical in high school. Um, just because like I had friends who were they were working out or doing some stuff, and I was like, oh well, let me see, because I think one of my friends, he was always strong, like he was the strongest one in our group. He didn't play any sports or anything like that. I think he had just always worked out with his dad or something like that, so he was just he drove a Mustang coupe, and he was, like I said, he was a strong one, so we called him Horse Boy.
Yeah.
So because when we played and we wrestled or whatever, he was like, he just, we say, you went into like you went into like horse boy mode and just got super like too strong.
Yeah.
So part of me is I worked out to keep up with him, because I didn't want to be bullied around by somebody who was just stronger than me. He's one of my best friends, but just just because you're stronger doesn't mean you need to flex it out. And then my friend's cousin, he was playing baseball, he was working out, so he had like weights and stuff. So I would say in high school I really got into like just lifting weights and just wanting to be stronger, but no end goal. And then I really didn't get into any sort of like super physical routine until I made a bet with a friend of mine. So we had both, I think, graduated college, and you know, you get lazy, you put on some weight. I don't know, I wasn't checking the scale at the time, but we put on some weight, and he was like, oh well, he was like, I can lose more weight than you. And I was like, yeah, like, no way. So we put money on it. It was $500. It was $500 to see who could lose the most weight within 90 days.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, because for me at the time, I was like, I can't afford to lose. Not in a like, I don't want to be humiliated. More so, I don't have $500 right
Yeah.
now to just give away. So I literally can't afford to lose. And so I started looking up and read like, what do I need to do to work out to like lose weight and eat better and things like that. So I would say, yeah, I forget which age in college it was, but yeah, I really just started to focus on that. And I had friends who were like, bodybuilder s type people who I asked them, or power lifters, and they were like, oh well, this is the way you need to eat. Take off, if you're gonna eat a burger or something, take off the top bun, add more things, cut the fries, add more salad or protein, and just kind of making all of those adjustments. And in your 20s, it is easy. It was ridiculously easy. I think I lost like 5 to 10 pounds in the first month,
Mm.
just doing the basics. And the internet wasn't full of weight loss gurus or workout
Mm.
routines, so it was really just piecemealing bits and pieces of information that I could on like what's a good workout or how much cardio you need to do, or things like that. So I think I lost about, by the end of the routine, I lost about 20 pounds. And I think I weighed in at about 175 pounds, which was the lightest I'd ever been. But I had, lost weight, and I was, wearing like a nice medium sized shirt, and so I was more so. I think I was feeling good in the concept, but I didn't. I was really applying it all to just the bet itself.
Mm.
Not I didn't. The goal was to like lose weight, work out, and win the bet.
Mm.
And which we ended up, I guess, in a tie because we both lost about 20 pounds.
Okay.
I felt that I definitely looked better, but it was our criteria. So we called it a draw. And I kind of kept up with it a bit, but I didn't have the same drive. So it was until like years later where we did the bet again.
Mm.
And this time I lost because I was in a relationship at the time, and it was not a very supportive relationship.
Mm. Mm.
And so uh, it we were staying at her place and ordering takeout and just kind of hanging around, and she wasn't being physically active, and so it didn't encourage me to be physically active. And so when it came down to it, it was like I haven't really lost much weight, and it was like, so I lost that one, and so I was determined to like not have that happen again.
Mm.
So I broke up with her
That's good.
and kind of went back. Yeah, and kind of went back on my own, and I had a better game plan in time of like, this is how to do it, this is how to maintain it. And at that point, it was like about maintaining. It was like not just to do it now, but to actually do it and have that positive change stick. Because
Mm.
I finally like gone out to a pool party and taken my shirt off, and I was like, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty confident in myself. And so just kind of working towards that. And I kept that up a lot longer that time around. And, life happens and you just kind of like slowly like fall off the track. So I would say probably the best shape I've probably been in is right before I started dating my current wife,
Mm.
because I had gotten a personal trainer.
Mhm.
And so I was working out, and he was sending her photos of me. He was like, he's working out for you. Like he has, doing these like Bosu ball squats and,
Yeah.
all this, I'm like sweating and dying. And she's like,
Yeah.
you look good.
Yeah.
And I would say right before we got married, so we were both working out, making sure we looked good on our wedding day. So we were real solid on working out, having a solid gym routine, maintaining, eating good, right up until we had kids. And
Mm.
kids throw a different dynamic into your schedule and your eating and
Mm.
everything else like that. So a lot of the post marriage weight, post wedding weight crept back up into dad weight,
Mm.
and that was, and we fought it. We handled it well with the first one. With the second one, it was a lot harder to climb out because, things that one we were in COVID and things are just kind of falling off, and we didn't, so it's just kind of harder to maintain and do stuff. So like things slowly crept up until honestly until I started working out with you. So
Mm.
that was like the biggest. We had done some things in between. We had like done a Whole 30, where we kind of eliminated a lot of processed foods from my household to kind of we were maintaining. And like I said, my wife loves to cook. We were cooking healthy, so the weight wasn't just continually skyrocketing. It had leveled out, but it was leveled out high, heavier than I'd ever been.
Mm.
I would think I was at like 235,
Mm.
which was about 20. It's about 20 pounds heavier than what I used to maintain at. I used to
Yeah.
maintain around 210.
Mm.
And even for me, even when I was working out, that was like okay because there was a decent amount of I guess muscle associated with that. My clothes fit. I didn't feel heavy. I didn't feel tired. And so that was I was like if I stay at this baseline and don't go too much higher, I'll go any lower. Great. If I don't go higher, and then like I said, kind of crept up on you, weren't paying attention, and next thing you know, you're 20 pounds heavier again, and you're like, oh, my clothes feel tight. I don't feel confident in my own body. And it was just like a problem that I just wasn't putting the attention on it that it deserved
Mm.
until I got the opportunity to like I work well with trainers, so because I feel that's an investment in both of our times, and I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't want anybody wasting my time. So I put a lot of focus into that, and once I get into the habit, it's easier to maintain. It was just you just got to get that. I just didn't have that jump. Like
Yeah.
my wife, I was making all the time in the world for her to get back into her running body because she used to run before we had kids, and she's like, I want to run again. I was trying to put that effort. It was like, I'll build you a gym in the garage.
Mm.
We got the exercise bike. You can have weights and everything. Like,
Yeah.
I want you to feel good in your body. I want you to feel confident. I want you to feel happy.
Okay.
I'll get mine when I get it.
Mm.
And now I'm here where I'm, slowly getting back into that arena and,
Mm.
noticing the changes and like, yeah, I like this. I want this and I want more than this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's been epic. I think we've been working together since March now, around there. And yeah, have you felt
End of
with
March. Yeah.
March? Yeah. Yeah, March, and then you went to Japan in between, which was also epic. You kept your steps up, I saw. So that was freaking phenomenal because
Definitely had to.
it. What was Japan like though? Would you recommend going? I know for you, you said it was like a lifetime goal to get out there. So
Yeah, yeah, I would recommend. I keep telling my wife that she's like, let's plan our next international trip. I'm like, cool, let's go back to Japan.
ah,
I recommend Japan to anybody. It's beautiful, it's clean, it's
hmm
quiet. It's depending on where you go, it's not really the navigating the train system in Tokyo is
hmm
like overload, but everywhere else it's regular, it's normal. If you've been anywhere with like a mass transit system, the people were cool. I We did a guided like food tour, so we got to go into some of the smaller shops, not like the big ones, but like just small. Like you're walking down a back alley and you see a sign up, and you're like, I don't know, and he's like, yeah, we're going in here. So
hmm
like we got to do like a really like authentic local food tour, which was great. The food there is delicious, and you look at it and it's all like fresh made, and it's not chocked full of all this other stuff. And I just felt, I felt satiated without feeling like heavy. Like the flavors were good. Everything was just solid, and the conversion rate was very favorable. So like I didn't feel like I was spending a ridiculous amount of money everywhere I went just to eat good food. There were definitely places we could have went if we really wanted to like spend some money and like have an experience, but just going to the place on the corner was delicious. And the corner grocery store, the little markets, also had delicious like pre-made things, which was just amazing. So yeah, I just seeing the culture, experiencing the culture, eating the food, just being there, and the weather was great. I recommend that for anybody who has the opportunity to go. We just so happened to be there when there was like a big food festival, because they were celebrating cherry blossoms, which is just a
ah,
beautiful time to be there in
yeah.
general. Excuse me. So yeah, no, definitely recommend Japan. My daughter wants to go back, so it may not. I don't think it'll be next year. I think next year we want to do Costa Rica, but maybe the year after or so we may do another round, or we may try to go without the kids, just to kids do add a dynamic to how long you can be out, where you can go, how you can do things. So it may or may not be a thing where maybe me and my wife will just go for a week or so, not like a full 2 weeks, but like just go for a week and like be able to hit some of the places, some of the temples, and some of the more scenic, adult-esque, peaceful. Just like, hey, this is nothing fancy. There's no games here. There's no Pokemon. It's literally just staring at a beautiful temple next to the water, enjoying the serenity, and then going to like eat a nice meal and relax and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm definitely going back, and I recommend anybody who's ever thought about it, just go ahead, book the tickets, go. You won't regret it.
Perfect. Yeah, my wife is always telling me about the cherry blossoms, and she's on my case. So I got to make it happen. Yeah, and
Yeah.
when you were there, yeah, I saw because when you came back, you didn't like gain a lot of weight, and I think I said to you at the time, if anything, it's probably just like water fluctuations from these long flights. Because honestly, the scale like didn't go up by much, and it was down pretty quick after. So that was.
Yeah, I the like I said, the one, I was probably clocking close to 15, 20,000 steps today,
Mm,
which was probably like close to like 7 or 8 miles
mm,
on a given day. Even and wear proper footwear. Anybody going to Japan, wear proper footwear, because it will beat up your feet if you're not in the right shoes.
yeah.
But yeah, in eating wise, we had, uh, we would go to the corner market and get like a breakfast. It was like an egg sandwich or something like that. So we get like an egg sandwich, or something related, or they had like these little chicken thighs that they had pre-made, and so
Mm,
it was like, try to eat a balance, when you're traveling. But then when we go out, it was like either a ramen. I would have like at least maybe one big meal. So like
yeah.
I would walk around and I found a place that had a ramen bowl, and they had a really ramen bowl, and I'd get like extra meat or something in it, or if it had meat, I'd just get whatever it was. And so like it had one big meal, and then everything else was like small snacks along the way. So I didn't deprive myself of anything, but I didn't just try to like gorge myself on like everything that was there. But I kind of balanced it out with, like I said, I did so much walking that I probably underhydrated. Like I thought I was drinking enough water, but I was probably underhydrating. And so like when I probably drank whatever I drank, it just my body was just like, I'm gonna hold on to this.
Yeah.
So yeah, so when I got back, I think I only put on. I think I balanced out. It was like maybe a pound or two, and then within a couple of days, once I actually got some sleep because the
Mm.
jet lag was terrible. Once I actually got some sleep, everything kind of balanced back out and went back down to pre-travel weight. And then once I kind of we rebalanced my workouts and my calorie goals, everything started to slide down to where it's hitting now. So yeah, it was like I said, food was good. I didn't have to like overdo it. I ate a lot of good, I had a lot of delicious steak, different chicken dishes, ramen, rice. The only thing I missed out on was sushi, and that was a big loss. Is that we didn't go to like a sushi restaurant and actually have stuff done. But that's why, like I said, it's on the menu, it's on the list for next time, and to go and have authentic sushi at a restaurant
Yeah.
and try some new unique foods to the region.
Awesome, awesome, and it's so cool because you have taken your kids with you, and now they've seen this habit, right? So it's not like they've like for example, when I was like really heavy, I would go somewhere and have this like scarcity mindset, and I'd like have to eat all the food. And I'd always come back like super heavy because I was just gorging myself because I'm like, I'm only here once, sort of thing. Even if that was true or not true, but in my head I believed it. And I would hate to be that version of myself now that I have a daughter, and if she had seen her dad doing that and then think that that's normal, like, oh, you go away and like everything is like you just do whatever you want and go crazy amount. But what I like with you is that like you kept the structure, and you're seeing like your kids are seeing you day in and day out like doing certain things. Even now back at home, like you on your step ground like no one else, and I'm sure your kids are witnessing that as well, like all the time, just you building these habits and sticking to these habits. So I think that's
Yeah,
epic.
yeah. No, and we my wife is very outdoorsy. And it's funny. I describe myself as an indoor cat. Like I like being in the house. I like relaxing. I like being inside. But and my wife is very outdoorsy. She likes to garden. She likes to be outside and do stuff. And she doesn't like to necessarily sit around in the house. If she does, if the sun is out, she wants to be out.
Mm,
And so she's kind of instilled that in our daughters, and so they are very active, and they both can ride bikes. And so we go to the park, and so while we're in the park riding bikes, while they're riding bikes, I'm walking the trail and doing my lap around the lake. So I'm getting my mile loop in,
mm,
and they'll pass me every now and then. Hey, Dad, kind of do their laps and stuff, and or they'll stop, play on the playground, and get back on their bike. So yeah, we're trying to raise them to be active, and my wife has been very focused on, she wants her daughters to see her being active, so she's trying to be out there and do that because
mm,
she's trying to set that positive mindset for them. So we're really all in this together for our health in general, but also making sure our daughters see a positive healthy lifestyle of like going out riding bikes, playing with your skates, just playing outside in general, to just make sure that's part of their development, part of these core years of like, oh yeah, we were outside riding bikes all the time. We were, outside in the yard gardening or
mm,
playing on the swings or doing stuff. Like we went to the park and, that's just how life was.
mm.
To just give them that mindset so that they, hopefully as they get older, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna go outside and go touch
Mm.
grass and just
Yeah,
go
yeah.
go be in the world, and once my wife starts running again, hopefully they'll be like, oh, I want to run too. They've done a couple of kid 5Ks, so
That's
like
epic.
maybe that'll develop into a bigger thing for them.
That's epic. Quickly, just let's just brag about your wife. Tell me about her running. Has she done marathons and stuff? Like,
Yeah, I'm in our guest bedroom, which is where she usually hangs out for her office, and there's a bag somewhere of all her medals. So
yeah.
she has done, we've done a couple of half marathons together. So when we lived in Alaska is when we first started doing our marathons. And
In that,
so
like, that's good. Oh,
yeah,
crazy.
it's beautiful. It is
Oh,
beautiful. You should look it up. It's the Mayor's Marathon. It's held right around the solstice in
oh, lovely.
Alaska, which is around the
Yeah.
longest day. So the Mayor's Marathon is beautiful. People from all over the world have come to go do it because they'll do an announcement as people cross over the line of like, oh, we have someone visiting from Germany or visiting from Iceland, and we get people all over the world who come and do it. But yeah, it started off as just we were both exercising and we were both working out. My friend Jeremy, who I had the bet with, he had gotten into running and to doing Ironmans,
Oh,
and he was like, "You should do a triathlon with me." And I was like, "I don't swim." He's like, "Well, they have a basic one. They have a basic one, so you just focus on the running and the biking, and the swim part is easy. It's shallow. You'll make it through." So I did a sprint triathlon,
okay. Yeah.
and so I'd say if you want to say like a lot of my early on. Uh, Exercising or forced into fitness, as I'll call it, is because of my friend Jeremy, as he was going on his journey to like get better, get in shape, and do things, and he drug me along. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell him that to his face. He already has an ego,
Yeah.
but he was like, "I'm doing this thing, you should do it too," and so I'll try it out. And then he's like, "I'm going to do a marathon. You should come do this half marathon with me." I was like, he's like, "If you can get up to 6 miles, you can do the rest." And so we go train together, we go work out together, and then Vegas was my first half marathon. It was the Vegas strip, so they like
Oh,
let you run up and down the Vegas strip with the lights on and everything.
okay.
So that was my first half marathon. And then when my wife and I got together, I told her about, yeah, I did a marathon before. She's like, I want to run. I want to do this. So we did the Mares, and so the Mares was our first like half marathon together. And she's done a handful more after that. So she's done a Ragnarok.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, okay. So yeah, she's done a Ragnarok. She's so like I said, she's gotten real. She got when she got into running, it was all about running. So yeah, so she has like a whole, like I said, a bag full of medals. I was once she figure out when she where she wants it, I'm gonna make her a rack so she
Ah,
can actually hang them up so you can see them. But yeah, she
yeah.
has a bunch of them. I have a good handful of them because, like I said, we did it together. So
Yeah.
we've done the 5Ks just for fun, and then we went and did like the half marathons. So yeah, she's been a rock star, and I've been trying to, like I said, I know that's one of the few things that like make her like super happy is just like the mental catharsis that comes with running. I'm sure you've
Mhm.
probably experienced it on your runs of just
Yeah.
like you get those moments. She's like, I like the way I feel
Yeah.
when I run, and I'm like, I'm here to help you get there. So when you are ready and you want to go run, I make that time available for you to go run. You want a space. If you want to book this thing, me and the girls will be there with our handwritten signs like, you got this, you can go do it. Like, she has a solid support system because she's been a solid support system for me. So I try to give that back to her 100% any
Yeah.
way I can to make sure she feels supported and that she knows she can go and do those things. And just because she's a mom, it doesn't mean that she can't do all these other things. So
Yeah.
I know they tell women, "Oh, you can do it all," and she's like, "That's not entirely true. Some
Mhm.
sacrifices have to be made,"
Mhm.
and she understands that. And with that, she's like finding the balance of, I want to take care of myself. I want to work out. I want to be, but I also want to be present for my daughters. I don't want to
Mhm.
miss these moments. How do I battle the working mom, the being the parent, and my physical fitness? And so
Mhm.
I step in where I can to help bridge those gaps. I was like, they're good. You go take care of you, because if you take care of you, it helps you take care of them.
I'm so glad you touched on that because there's a lot of hate on, I would say, husbands not, not doing enough and stuff. But I know that there are a lot of husbands like you. I'm the same. I also clear up as much time for my wife as possible so that she can do what she needs to do. And I know there are a lot of us that like don't get a voice and aren't people aren't hearing about on the internet. And I think there's a ton of great dads and husbands doing exactly what you're doing. So yeah, I mean, credit to you. And which makes me want to ask you, like, because how much? weight now? Have you, if you just want to tell people how much weight now you've lost, or how you
Yeah,
feeling since we started working together?
I am a yeah, I'm about I think when I first weighed in with you was at 235. So I've lost about 10 pounds.
Mm.
And it would be a little bit more, but I know when I weighed in this morning, I was like, "Ooh, last night was a good night." Uh, but yeah, I'd say I've lost about 8 to 10 pounds, and the change was not quick. I thought, once I started tracking my calories and everything would just kind of fall off. It's a lot harder for that to happen when you're 40 and you're gone from being semi-active to like fully active.
Mm.
So it was a slow start to get to where I am now. I would say in the last 3 to 4 weeks, I've noticed it really start to come off. And looking at the photos of where I started to now, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing those big changes. Yeah, I'm seeing it in my waistline. I'm seeing it in my back. And my back's it's one side of my back where it's like the fat fold is there, and then you look at the newest photos, it's like it's just a slight shadow, so it's like that I'm losing it in the back.
Hmm.
I'm tapering in a little bit at the waist. When I do my check-in photos, I purposely try not to flex. I just want to be
Hmm.
like, I wanted to see how I
Yeah.
naturally relaxed
Yeah.
look. And I see that I'm getting there because when I do flex, I can see I'm starting to develop. I think my shoulder, I can see it in my shoulders and my neck. Like I'm
Yeah.
getting more the development back. I'm getting the veins in my arms. So every time I go to the gym and I hit a new record, or I'm lifting as heavy or heavier than I did 10 years ago,
Hmm.
uh, I know I'm heading in the right direction, and it's that boost of confidence where you're like, all right, well, I've been lifting these at 35 for like the last 2 weeks. Let me just go up a level and I pick up a 40, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like
Hmm.
maybe I can't do the full 10, but I'm getting the 7, and I'm like, seven's good.
Yeah.
I'm starting to incrementally get up in some of these areas, and the instability or the shakiness when I'm holding the bar is kind of going away. I was like, oh, this is too light. Let me
Hmm.
throw extra weight on there. So yeah, it's just a huge confidence booster. Even if you don't see the numbers on the scale, when you see the weights coming off the rack and
Hmm.
you're doing it correctly and you're doing it heavier,
Hmm.
and you just know like, oh man, like when I started this, I was lifting 12s and
Yeah.
15s, and now I'm doing like 20s,
Hmm.
and that's that's a huge jump. When you're isolating a muscle group, that's a huge jump. And there's still other areas that I'm focusing on that probably need more time. There's other areas that I hate to work, so I probably need to give them more attention. I squats and lunges, not a fan.
Yeah.
Not like I gotta, if I can find, I mean, like literally, if you want to get me to break a sweat, it's a leg day. It's a squat
Yeah.
routine.
Yeah.
It's a split squat. Any of
Yeah.
those, any of those will instantly break a sweat out.
Yeah.
I could do arms all day and barely get hot, but the minute I'm like squatting, 175 or whatever on the rack, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's a heavy day. So, but yeah, I'm noticing. So like I'm not solo focusing on the numbers on the scale. I like to see them go down because I like, when I put on the clothes and I feel the clothes and I feel that looseness in them, I like that as a recognition of like, hey, this is going in the right direction. But like I said, I'm also noticing like my wife brought it up the other day. We were doing a walk around the lake and we were just having a conversation, and she goes, you haven't stopped. You're keeping up with me. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, normally when we're walking, either you're walking slower than I am, or you're not holding a conversation. But you're holding a conversation and keeping pace. You might even be walking a little faster than me, like, but you're keeping pace and a conversation, and it's like it's nothing. I was like, oh, okay. And it didn't even occur to me. It was
Yeah.
just so. it just naturally happened, and she noticed the change of like her not stopping to see where I am,
Yeah.
or because I trailed off a little bit because she's a fast walker. It's like
Yeah.
you have me walking so many steps per
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
that it's now like my body's like naturally, yeah, this is fine, whatever.
Yeah.
And so
It's
I'm
good
like, I'm
stuff.
walking, I'm holding that conversation, I'm keeping up. And so I'm like, oh, and like I said, it's not just a personal realization, it's the external realization from other people. I was like, oh, hey, you're doing this thing that you usually have trouble with, and it's nothing. So I think that maybe that more than the weight loss is like the biggest boost of like my wife, the person I'm with every day, is like noticing these things I don't even put thought into. She's like, oh, like she'll notice the physical, like, oh, hey, your shoulders look good, or like, hey, do that thing with your chest or whatever, but it's not, she's just like, you're walking with me and you're keeping pace,
Mhm.
and it's just a natural thing for you. And I'm like, oh, oh, well, all right then. Let's keep this going for me and you, kid. Let's keep this going.
Let's give
So
it a go. And for your daughters, because they're gonna see that as well, right? So
yeah,
and that'll be
yeah.
subconscious,
So
but
yeah,
they
like I said,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, they're focused on riding their bikes and playing on the playground and stuff. So I mean, they'll notice it in time, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think overall, it's just it's noticing from the person who looks at you every single day
Mm.
and is with you. Uh, Noticing, like I said, those micro things, so things you didn't even put thought into. You like, I'm just walking, but
Yeah.
she's like, no, you're not just walking. You're walking with speed, and you're walking with, you're walking with purpose in terms of like being able to hold a conversation, and yeah, and then those things translate into being a dad. Like I
Hmm.
can. I have a better opportunity to keep up with my kids. My kids are fast. My kids have endless amount of energy. Me being able to do this means I'm being able to, like, as they get more active, that they want to do more things. I'm not just like, okay, daddy's tired, and you go sit down. Like I'm I'm in the game longer, and that's a benefit to me. That's a benefit to them. So yeah, it's like I said, it's appreciated. I don't know how often times people like how often trainers and just people in general just say, hey, I appreciate the system that you're working out, and trying to encourage not just people in general but dads themselves to like take that extra look at themselves and be like, hey, you can, just because you're a dad, it doesn't stop there. You can do more. You could be that, you could have that father figure, and that father figure be like a healthier version of you. Because my dad passed when he was in his 40s. He was like 40, like 42 or 44 when he passed. So I'm at that age. I'm in that window. So I'm doing everything I can to beat that, get that longevity out of here, because he had health he had health issues, but he didn't take care of them the way he needed to. So I'm as you say, we learn things from our parents that we do or we don't do, and the thing that I'm doing is I'm checking in with a doctor. I'm working towards getting with a nutritionist, working towards making sure my blood work is good, and doing the things I need to make it into my 50s, into my 60s, without having any debilitating medical issues, and be there for my kids as they grow up. So, the things we get from our parents of like, let me do better because I want to be here as long as possible. So, yeah, that's what I'm working towards now. It's just I'm working for the longevity game.
Epic, and yeah, that's exactly why I do what I do, because yeah, that's I grew up with seeing people not taking care of themselves and perishing early, and it's a sad thing to see, because you're like, you had some control in your hands and you just decided to toss it away. So, but what I really like is the fact that you have like a very balanced approach to it, or like you said, you're not, obviously the weight on the scale coming down is really nice, but you're like an all rounder. You're like thinking about, the PB in the gym, like the life quality, what your wife, the feedback your wife is now giving you. So like that's really what it's like all about. And then obviously you takes a while, but then it all starts to like shift and progress together. really nasty over a long period of time, and then it's like you said, you don't even think about these things, and then it's like, one day you just kind of realize it, or someone tells you, you're walking quicker, and you are keeping up with me, or something like that, and you don't often see that. So I wanted to ask you, what for you, because like obviously you mentioned about like your wife's aspirations, like to get back into running and things like that. But for you, like from like physically and stuff, like what are your goals? Like what would you like to see Kamani achieve next?
Um, I mean, honestly, I would like to be able to buy a regular pair of pants that just fit comfortably. I say I have the thighs of a quarterback, or I guess in European leagues, it'd be like a rugby player. Like I have like thick thigh. I've always had like thick thighs and the hips and stuff like that. Always been smaller in the waist and just hips and thighs. So like for me, it's just I want to I want to get all. I just want to get everything like tighter, physically fit. Just be able to be comfortable in the clothes that I wear and the body that I have, and just like I said, just be available to do any of the things I want to do. I don't want to be physically limited because my body is not where it needs to be. So I mean, my end goal of is not like I'm not aiming towards like running a marathon. Like I at this point, if you keep up the step count, I'm gonna have to learn how to run again anyway.
Makes
But
it
and that may be it. They may be like once I start running, I'm like, all right, fine, I'll go run a half marathon just cause that's what my
secretly,
wife does. She's like, well, you're running,
yeah,
yeah, like you're running anyway. Like you might as
yeah.
well just
I secretly push the steps up
so.
until
Uh,
people have this realization that maybe a quick run is will help a bit with the steps.
yeah, so I'm getting there. Adam sent me a link to his running shoes. I need to go get some new runners. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I just want to be like I said, I want to be present. I want to be in good shape. I just want to feel good about it. Feel confident in the shirts that I put on and the pants that I put on. I've been doing some ad work with a couple of companies, and their brand is clothing, and so I want to be able to when I put on that clothing and show it off in a video or a photo. I want to look and feel confident. So there's the vanity aspect that I think a lot of us all have,
Yeah.
whether it's big or bad. Like I want to look good in my body, but at the end I really just want to feel good in my body. I don't want to exacerbate any hidden defects in the genome that are like, oh well, you're 2 pounds heavier, and now you have you need a sleep apnea machine, or you have to take this medication for the rest of your life to bring down these levels. Like I want to fight all of that as long as possible. And so, it's like I said, my goal is longevity, and whatever comes with longevity, if it means that I'm benching 250, or I'm squatting 300, or I'm running a half marathon, if that's all the downstream of what the main goal is of longevity here, then rock on. I'm here for it. I'll wear the t-shirt and I'll put on the medal. But yeah, I just my goal is to just like I said, I want to feel healthy. I want to be here for my daughters. Both my parents have had medical complications. One, my father passed away from. One, my mom's going through now, and I want to beat all that. I want to not be in a situation where I'm no longer in control of my body later because I wasn't in control of my body now.
Perfect. Yeah, that is so much. Yeah, I love what you're saying and the way that you've phrased it. Yeah, I have one last question. So just before I let you go, you're in
Yeah.
the States and I'm in Germany. So would you, to somebody watching, recommend online coaching? Because a lot of people feel like they need an in-person trainer. So just wanting to know your experience to the people.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. Like I said, I've had plenty of in-person trainers, and uh, which usually my in-person trainer is just like, hey, we meet at the gym, we do our thing, and then I'll see you next week. Having a virtual trainer, is great because I think there's more communication with a virtual trainer. There's more scrutiny, or there's more in depth review of what you do. Like I don't recall, like my trainer would ask, like, "Oh, what'd you eat this week?" Like, "Oh, I ate this, this, and this." You're like, "Oh, well, you should probably lay off, eat less bacon, eat more vegetables," and that would kind of be the conversation, and then we get into the workout. But with a virtual trainer, like because we're not in person to kind of like stick with you, like we have the app, we are looking through, we're going through and like, hey, and you're not just looking like at my calories for the week. You're actually looking in and looking at what I'm putting in that I ate. Like, oh, hey, are you ate? You're good on your protein. You're high on this. Or it looks like you ate. You ate a slice of pizza. Sure, once in a while, but you need to curve that with something else, or adjust that for the week for your calories, and go higher on. So you do a more in depth take on not just that I'm working out, but what I'm eating, and then how my calories are going, and then looking at my measurements and stuff like that, and then making those adjustments. And I think there's a benefit to that sometimes people don't get with an in-person trainer, because it's really just that you get that face-to-face time for like 45 minutes to an hour, and then they're like, all right, cool, see you on Thursday, or see you next week. But whereas, because we can't have that physical interaction, I think more attention is paid into the details that really have the greatest impact.
Yeah.
Like I could not hit the gym and just walk every day,
Mhm.
but if you're looking at what I'm eating and making adjustments to that, I could still lose weight.
Mhm.
And I'll have great walking legs. I may not have a ripped abs or anything like that, but I could still lose weight without that in-person contact. Whereas, like I said, a trainer would just be like, hey, let's do a full body workout, let's go, all right, have a good week, eat healthy, I'll catch you in. So like I said, I think more detail is paid to those impactful line items that maybe get ignored sometimes with an in-person trainer. So that's the long way of saying, yeah, I would definitely recommend having a trainer, period. If you're not that focused, dedicated person, have a trainer in your corner. And if you can get somebody who's going to be, remote and be dedicated to like looking at your reviews, answering your questions when you have them. Hey, I'm going out this weekend. What can I do to not go off rails? It was like, cool, eat light during the day, enjoy yourself at night, but don't, keep it to proteins and veggies and stuff where you can, limit, don't have 8 drinks, that sort of thing, or drink plenty of water. Like having that person who's going to help you do that deep dive on how to enjoy your life, but also not derail you from your goals. So yeah, having a remote trainer to do that work is perfect.
Epic, epic. Thanks for that. Yeah, thanks for being so honest and open, and also just being really great to work with. I'm certainly also enjoying it. Yeah. So, Kamani, that's all I have for you for tonight. We are maybe when you have some time in the future, we could come on again and dive on. I like the way you talk and your storytelling, and you give such in-depth answers, and I really appreciate that, because I think the world's getting a bit more and more shallow, and people have less attention spans. So if someone's gonna like tune into a podcast, I love the fact that guests and stuff are willing to go in depth, because that's what's important, this human connection. Even though we're in a screen, maybe one day I'll get to a point where I can do physical podcasts, but we're all got to start somewhere. Yeah.
I mean, if you're ever, my wife loves to travel, and her goal is for us to travel as much as we possibly can. Life is about experiences, so Europe and Germany are on the list. So if we not next year, but in the time comes, or if something brings you to the states, it's easy enough to book a flight and kind of meet up. But
Mm.
yeah, no, I would love that, but I would also love to have a workout session with you in person, whether it be here in Germany or someplace in between. Just because, like I said, you're cool people, and it's cool to meet cool people across the world. I mean, back in the 90s, it was like pen pals, and now we're like video chatting, but now you're having like, a personal trainer like guide you through the process of becoming the better version of yourself through like video meetings. So yeah, no, it's been an awesome experience. And I would definitely love to be back on. Hopefully, another 5 to 10 pounds lighter. Maybe I'll have like shoulders like yours. I wear my
Yeah,
my athletic top. Will just
yeah. It's only 'cause it's so hot
but
here.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Good, good, awesome, awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a friend in France right now. I know they're going through a heat wave. I don't know if it's flowing through all of you, but
Yeah,
yeah, she's blazing right there. So
yeah. I was supposed to do a half marathon tomorrow, and they postponed it. So, but I'm probably still going to wake up early, and
oh, oh,
I'm saying probably, but I'm going to wake up early and still run my half marathon in as fast a time as I can, and see what I do, and not die in the heat. So, yeah, epic. Thanks so much, Kani.
stay hydrated and take care of yourself.
I will do. You have a
Yeah,
lovely
thank
rest of your
you.
weekend, and we'll chat again soon on the apps and stuff. So, yeah, I'll let you know when this
All
episode
right,
is
sounds great. Thank you, and all
epic.
right,
Yeah,
thank you. Appreciate that, and appreciate everybody who's listening.
perfect. Thanks. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.